So these are going to be the best decks after the mini set, and the first one is going to be Beast Hunter by far. I mean, it is not even close. If you look at the win rate of the class as a whole, it is 7% above the second highest win rate class. And if you look at the deck as a whole, 60% win rate on a deck has not happened in like over a year. It is absolutely insane how powerful this deck is, and it basically comes down to the fact that it's super simple. You play a 1-drop, you pump it with Doggy Biscuit, or you play a 2-drop like Spirit Poacher Breeder. You play the weapon or Wild Spirits turn 3. Turn 4, the Saber if you have it, and then after that, turn 5 and down, you just play whatever the biggest minion you have is, and slam face 90% of the time. It's very expensive though, and considering this deck will probably get nerfed soon, I would not necessarily recommend crafting it, but if you have even just like 80% of these cards, this deck will absolutely win you games. So the next deck on the list is going to be Imp Warlock, which is the second highest win rate class in the game, slightly above Imp Curse Warlock, which is also very good. And the reason this is the case is because it does very well against Hunter. Hunter doesn't have AoE or healing, and it takes a little bit of time for it to build up its board, whereas Imp Warlock right out of the gate is extremely strong. The idea behind this deck is to just flood the board, pump up stuff with Via Library, refill your board with Imp King Rafam, and then maybe finish your opponent off with Sire Denathrius if you need to. And if you don't have some of these cards like Blade Master Okani, Dreadlich Tamsin, or Denathrius, you can run some of the curses, you can run a Piggyback Imp, or you could potentially run the Bloodbound Imp instead of Imposter. I just thought because it's a new card, I'd throw it in there. So the next deck on this list is kind of a flavor of the weak deck, and it is Jailer Paladin, a control Paladin deck that revolves around the Jailer. You want to try to get it guaranteed off of Order in the Court. You want to play Lightforged Cariel on turn 8 so you can play the Jailer, which basically causes you to take half the damage from fatigue so you can survive longer. But not only that, once you destroy your deck, the Countess and Reno Jackson become active because your deck is empty, so you can generate some legendary minions that become indestructible. You can fully heal so you survive fatigue longer, and Lightforged Cariel's hero power allows you to pump up minions in your hand to make other big indestructible minions. The deck has some pretty good early game as well, with good tempo. If you look here, several 1, 2, and 3 drops, with some good removal with a quality city tax as well as the righteous defense. So overall, this deck is very well rounded. It does kind of rely on the Jailer, so if you lose to a Theotar or Mutanus, you'll just lose the game. But for the most part, this deck has been very good to me. The next deck on this list is going to be basically just the Relic Demon Hunter of old. It doesn't really change that much. You run the Jailer now because you can get some really big minions off of Relic of Phantasms that become indestructible. You run the Prosecutor because it slows down your opponent, and if you play it or it's a reduced cost, it's pretty good. And then Sylvanas is just a really well-rounded card you can throw into basically any deck. But other than those cards, it's basically the exact same Relic Demon Hunter as before. Good mana cheat with the Relic of Dimensions, good removal with a ton of early game things, and great big minions with the Relic of Phantasms and several late game minions. Overall, it's still a really solid deck. Nothing really has changed about it. If you liked it before, you'll like it now. It's just a little bit more expensive. So the final deck on this list is going to be Ramp Druid, which is on this list for a couple of reasons. One, it's got Mutanus, Theotar, and Bran, which basically just allow you to counterplay some combo decks like stealing the Jailer from Paladin. Two, it actually counters Paladin not only because of that, but because Due Process makes them draw twice as many cards once they destroy their entire deck, so they die really fast to fatigue. And then the last thing is because of your ramp and your insane late game, you're able to compete with most decks as long as you can get a little bit of early ramp. Even decks like Hunter can't kill you quite fast enough. The only thing that's like really a problem is Aggro Demon Hunter and Imp Warlock, which can snowball out of control. But as long as you don't go against too many of those, this deck has a pretty decent, if not favored matchup into most other decks in the game right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick little tier list. I will be updating it in a week after the meta stabilizes a little bit more. Remember, these decks are all rough drafts. The idea of the deck is what's strong, not necessarily this specific build. And again, nerfs might happen in the future. So if you like the video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Don't necessarily craft any of these decks quite yet. Just keep a lookout for them.